In the last episode we saw Jinwoo preparing for a big battle with the boss. Just when it seemed like the fight was about to begin, Chahi suddenly appeared. He immediately put his weapon away, and Chahi, ever perceptive, noticed this and wondered if he had won in the first place. However, she decided not to press the matter further and simply told him to hurry up and leave. She warned him that if the boss found out they were there, the entire mining team would be in serious trouble. Jinwoo agreed to leave with Chahi's request, turning around to head back. But just as he was about to walk off, Chahi suddenly stopped him with a curious expression on her face. She had caught a strange, pleasant scent and couldn't help but approach him, her nose twitching as she sniffed the air. Chahi took a look at his ID card and seeing that he was a low-rank hunter, she sighed and told him to head back. Jinwoo agreed, leaving Chahi to think to herself as she watched him walk away. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something off about him. Jinwoo rejoined his mining crew. His boss greeted him and mentioned that he'd heard Jinwoo had met Chahi. He said Jinwoo was pretty lucky since they were only able to see her from a distance. The boss went on to explain that Chahi gave up her own rest time to patrol and protect them, making her a rather selfless and cool person. Jinwoo, who had already begun to understand Chahi's actions, realized that her behavior towards him was likely due to the fact that she disliked the scent of hunters. Back at the mining site, Jinwoo's boss paid him for his work, praising him for his talents and how they had finished their tasks ahead of schedule. The boss commented that after many years of experience in the field, he hadn't met anyone with the same level of skill as Jinwoo in a long time. He was so impressed that he offered Jinwoo a permanent position with a generous salary, to which Jinwoo politely declined. He explained that he was only there for a short while and wasn't planning to stay longer. The boss, though a bit disappointed, still asked if Jinwoo could help out just one more day. The mining team had some big missions ahead, back-to-back A-rank and C-rank raid missions the next day. Jinwoo, already considering checking his rank after tomorrow, agreed to join them. After hearing that the Hunters Guild would also be involved, with the second assault team present, he thought it might be an interesting challenge. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a conversation was taking place about investigating Jinwoo. Someone mentioned that all information on him was sealed, and they'd never seen such a thing with a top-level hunter. Chahi, after hearing this, felt a little let down. She had her suspicions and felt that there was something more to Jinwoo than met the eye. She lay down on her bed, deep in thought, and couldn't help but admit that she was intrigued by him. The next morning, Jinwoo returned to the mining team, and everyone greeted him with a cheerful good morning. As he heard them, Jinwoo found himself reminiscing about his old party. He thought to himself how he hadn't felt this way in a while, how he was starting to feel more at home with this group. The day went by, and as they worked in the same rank dungeon, Jinwoo's skill continued to impress everyone. Even the boss couldn't help but marvel at how much easier the work was with Jinwoo around. Afterward, the team sat down to eat and rest, preparing for the A-rank dungeon ahead. It was right around this time that a man named Blackhead approached them, requesting help with a missing team member. One of their regular carriers had gone missing, and no one from the recovery team could help. Blackhead offered great pay but no one seemed interested. The boss, knowing the risks of going into an A-rank dungeon, explained that low-rank adventurers like them weren't suited for such a task. Jinwoo boldly stated that he was still going to go despite the risks. The team warned him that the dungeon was full of high-level magical beasts, but Jinwoo reassured them, saying he was powerful enough to handle it. When Blackhead asked about his rank and found out it was E, he hesitated for a moment but ultimately agreed to take Jinwoo along, figuring that the more help they had, the better. As they ventured deeper into the dungeon, Jinwoo's unease grew. The magical energy felt weaker than expected, but the atmosphere was still unsettling. It reminded him of the Red Gate, where terrible memories were formed. The eerie silence and strange tension made his anxiety rise. It felt as if something or someone was watching them. One of the girls in the group, noticing his discomfort, reassured him calmly. She explained that Blackhead, the team's captain, and the others were highly skilled, and as long as he stayed with them, he'd be fine. Despite her words, Jinwoo couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. They ventured further, they were met with a horde of dungeon jackals. Though easily dispatched by the team, something felt off about them. They wore strange ceremonial collars and didn't fight as fiercely as expected. This led Jinwoo to suspect someone had trained them like pets or hunting dogs, manipulating the dungeon in ways they couldn't fully understand. It raised more questions about what lay ahead. The group pressed forward through the cold, damp corridors. Soon their path was blocked by high orcs, massive, menacing creatures with strength far beyond their expectations. One of the orcs hurled a spear at Blackhead, knocking him backward. The power of the attack left the team in shock. They had underestimated the orcs and were now paying the price. The orcs were nearly indestructible, with magical resistance that made them almost immune to the team's spells. Forced to split into smaller groups to handle each orc, the team quickly realized this battle was unlike anything they had faced before. Jinwoo, always observant, sensed the rising tension. The orcs were relentless and the team's fatigue was beginning to show. He saw the battle starting to turn against them. Without revealing himself, Jinwoo decided to step in. Using his stealth abilities, he began picking off the orcs one by one. His movements were so quiet and smooth that no one noticed. His precise attacks weakened the monsters from the shadows. As the team continued fighting, they felt a subtle shift in the battle. Despite their exhaustion, things started to go more smoothly. It was as though the pressure had lifted, but none of them could explain why. Jinwoo stayed hidden, ensuring his intervention remained unnoticed. His quiet actions gave the team the edge they needed to defeat the remaining orcs. As the battle wound down, Blackhead turned to check on the team. "Is everyone okay?" he asked, his voice a mix of exhaustion and relief. The others nodded, but then the magic caster spoke up. She mentioned that during the battle she had sensed something strange. A shift in the air, a change in the energy surrounding them. The others agreed, though they couldn't pinpoint the cause. It felt as if their powers had been subtly enhanced. The magic caster hesitated before admitting she had sensed Jinwoo's stealth abilities. She realized his quiet intervention had been key to their survival. For now, they chose to act as if nothing had happened, not wanting to disrupt the balance. After regrouping, Blackhead decided to retreat. They had completed their task, but he knew they needed to leave before things worsened. Just as they started to exit, however, a powerful magical barrier appeared, trapping them inside. Panic spread as the team realized they were trapped. The magic caster tried to break the barrier, but her attempts were in vain. It wasn't just ordinary magic. They could feel the ominous presence of cursed magic. It became clear they had walked straight into a trap. As they realized this, an army of over 50 high orcs emerged, blocking their path. Despite the overwhelming numbers, Blackhead stepped forward, determined to face them. His team followed, ready for battle. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the orc ranks. An orc sorcerer who spoke first in an unintelligible language. After some strange motions, he switched to perfect human speech, introducing himself as Karl Galgon. He demanded they follow him and revealed he had sealed off the entrance to trap them. With a smirk, he gave them an ultimatum: face him or be slaughtered by his orc soldiers. Blackhead, understanding the trap, agreed to meet him face to face, aware of the danger. As they moved forward, Blackhead shared his plan with Jinwoo. The strategy was simple. Once they reached the orc leader, they would create a distraction to draw attention away from the barrier, giving Jinwoo a chance to escape and alert the main team for reinforcements. Jinwoo voiced his concerns, thinking Blackhead and the team were signing their own death warrants. Jinwoo's resolve was further tested when a girl from the team handed him a diary, asking him to deliver it to her family if something went wrong. She urged him to focus on surviving, while they would finish the mission no matter the cost. Outside the dungeon, Chaha began searching for him. She was worried he had abandoned the team. Talking to a mining boss, Chaha learned that Jinwoo had entered the dungeon as a porter. She couldn't understand why he would risk his life like that. Inside the dungeon, Jinwoo and his team arrived at a massive throne room, where Karl Galgon and his orc army awaited them. The sorcerer coldly informed them that they could either face him or be wiped out by his soldiers. With no choice but to move forward, Blackhead prepared to confront the sorcerer, knowing that their only chance to complete the mission was to defeat him.